The United Nations has gained measurable access to movement within and out of the Tigray region. United Nations Deputy Spokesperson Farhan Hag, at a press conference in New York, informed reporters that the United Nations Humanitarian Air Service conducted a test flight successfully following approval from the Government of Ethiopia.
Inside Tigray, access is currently possible to areas that were previously hard to reach. An estimated 75% of people who need assistance, this is 4 million out of 5.2 million people in need, are now in zones where humanitarian operations can take place, compared to 30% in May. Humanitarian supplies, however, are rapidly being depleted inside Tigray, with road access only possible through a far region, with heavy control by regional and federal authorities. Last week, a 54-truck humanitarian convoy carrying food, fuel, medical supplies, and other vital items arrived in Mekelle, the first to reach the region in more than 2 weeks. However, the supplies are far from adequate to sustain humanitarian assistance.
The UN envoy added that funding amounting to $430 million is still needed for the humanitarian response in the region to curb further deterioration in the humanitarian situation. Meanwhile, the United Nations Security Council has had a meeting with the Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed. She expresses deep concern over what she described as a hurricane of humanitarian crises across the globe, compounded by a relentless wave of attacks on humanitarian and medical workers. We cannot allow civilians in these conflict zones to continue to bear the brunt, she says.
We are in uncharted waters. The sheer scale of humanitarian needs has never been greater. The United Nations and our partners are seeking to reach 160 million people with assistance this year alone, the highest figure ever. The Secretary-General urges this Council to take strong and immediate action to support its numerous resolutions on the protection of civilians, humanitarian and healthcare workers in humanitarian space. 3 weeks ago, humanitarian aid workers Johannes Halfomfom, Maria Hernandez and Tedros Ghebreyesus were brutally killed in Tigray while working for Médecins Sans Frontières. This was just the latest in a string of attacks that have killed 12 aid workers in Tigray since the start of the conflict in November 2020. Many more have been intimidated, harassed, and detained. Attacks on humanitarian workers are completely unacceptable and may constitute war crimes. They should be investigated and prosecuted accordingly. What goes unpunished will be repeated.
Humanitarian space or spaces must be protected without exception.
Le Conseil de sécurité n'est jusqu'à présent pas parvenu à prévenir ou endiguer ce rétrécissement. L'immobilisme et les blocages au sein de cette instance mettent en danger les personnes vulnérables et les acteurs humanitaires qui leur viennent en aide. Ainsi, c'est lorsque le cap des 10 millions de personnes infectées par la Covid-19 qui a été dépassé que le Conseil s'est finalement accordé pour appeler à un cessez-le-feu global afin de faciliter l'accès humanitaire. Par ailleurs, certains conflits sont à l'agenda de ce Conseil depuis des années. Pourtant, trop peu d'actions concrètes ont été engagées, mettant de facto en péril l'espace humanitaire. Les mots « nous sommes préoccupés » ne suffisent pas. Nous avons besoin de condamnations fortes, rapides et claires, suivies d'actions ambitieuses lorsque l'espace humanitaire est bafoué.
Agir, c'est aussi nous mobiliser pour que les acteurs humanitaires impartiaux ne soient pas traduits en justice ou sanctionnés du seul fait d'avoir conduit des actions humanitaires conformes au droit international humanitaire et aux principes humanitaires. Les personnels médicaux humanitaires ne sauraient opérer de distinction entre les blessés qu'ils ont à prendre en charge sur la base de raisons étrangères à la médecine. Une telle attitude serait contraire à l'éthique de leur profession. Il n'est donc pas acceptable qu'ils soient envoyés en prison pour avoir soigné des individus au motif que, par ces soins, ils aideraient des combattants.